side note, I would 100% like to bury forced crossplay.
Yes, can we do that too? So let's just start right where we usually start at the beginning of the year. It is time for Save, Bury, Reboot. For those of you who do not know what Save, Bury, Reboot is, basically we pick a game that we played during the year, doesn't have to be released during the year, but that we played this year. One that we want to save from all destruction, one that we are burying along with the ET cartridges, and one that we would like to see rebooted. That's pretty straightforward when I say it like that. So
It is.
Says
what it is on the tin.
Yeah, it's just like on the tin, folks. Let's start with saves. I think it's probably easy to just do save, bury, and then reboot. Okay. Do you want to start or should I?
Sure. Mine's going to be a little probably different than yours, obviously.
Yes.
But I chose a game that actually hasn't been out that long because I wanted it to have the longevity to become like fully into what it needs to be like a truly great game.
Sure.
Kind of like No Man's Sky. It's like I don't want it to die. They keep doing great things like that.
Yeah.
With it. But for me, my save was actually Space Marine 2.
Space Marine 2, yes. You were very excited about this when it came out.
I waited 10 or 11 years for a sequel to Space Marine 1.
Fair enough.
Which I never thought we'd get, so I was excited to hear about.
Yeah.
No, I think the game is honestly pretty solid, and I think it has a lot of room for improvement to make a lot of features and just playing it more fun. I want it to be up to the level of replayability that you get out of Helldivers.
Sure.
Because Helldivers, it has so much replayability and just so much pushing it forward. Space Marine 2 has 7 operations currently right now that are the player versus environment non-campaign missions. I want to see more. I want to see less storied ones perhaps and more just like even procedural ones. Like I want to see it change up because with only 6 or 7 maps, and they're coming out with an 8th one soon, I guess, like for rotation for those missions, it becomes very samey.
I haven't played Space Marine 2, but it is a little bit like Helldivers, right? You're going on those mission drops and...
A little bit. It's, you know, go on missions, kill things, complete objectives.
Fair enough.
Space Marine 2 is a lot more narrative heavy. It's very much, it tells a story in everything it does, which is fine. But I think for the players to continue playing it, it needs more.
Yes.
I don't want to see it die because I would like them to continue making good fucking Space Marine games, honestly, or good Warhammer games that are combat oriented.
Yeah. It's
like the action combat in it is great, so keep that.
Yeah. Warhammer games are kind of a mixed bag, but like I've enjoyed...
They did the shotgun approach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody gets the license, do something good.
Yeah.
Or bad,
yeah. You never know what's going to happen. It's like when Marvel was, before they had like the Marvel Cinematic Universe and they were just selling the license to like whoever, and you got like those really wild old Marvel movies, like Japanese Spider-Man, or the old bad like Captain America, like that kind of thing, or the Corman version of like Fantastic Four. There were some wild ones, but I'm glad that Space Marine 2 ended up doing pretty well, or came out okay.
It did over 5 million copies. They're quite happy with it, so
I would be too. I would absolutely.
So I want them to save it. I want people to keep playing it, and I want them to make it truly a good product. Like again, it is great if you're more concerned about the story, but if you want like that Helldivers level of action and replayability to it, it needs to have more.
So for my save, what I've done the last year with War Tales, I was looking for games that I wanted to save that weren't necessarily big titles, like the ones that everybody's played, but like the smaller titles that could easily get lost in the shuffle, that I really thought deserved more credit than they did. And so this year is going to be no different. My save is Pesticide Not Required. which is the kind of game that some people will probably scratch their head or have a question mark over their head about what it even is. It's sort of taking the framework of a Vampire Survivors. It is very much like a Vampire Survivors game, but the fun part about it is you get to play a frog. You get to play a little frog, and you are on a farm trying to keep a bunch of bugs away from you. And in so doing, they add in these really interesting mechanics about fishing, mining, and gardening that you have to do while you are trying to get away from the hordes of these bugs that are coming at you. And yeah, and so the way this works is you gain experience by doing those things, doing the farming. You get money and stuff, and then you can trade that in for new like more equipment and more seeds and all of that. But then you also get experience, and you even grow your weapons. So, like, you get seeds for scythes and lawnmowers and hay bales and, like guppies that you get to shoot at, the little tadpoles you get to shoot out of your mouth and stuff. And you get the seeds, you get to plant those, and then you collect the weapons and you get more plants so that you can upgrade all of those weapons throughout your run. And it's like on a day and night cycle. It's sort of like, imagine if somebody said, I kind of want to play Stardew Valley, but Vampire Survivors is really cool. Could we add those in? And they did. They successfully did this. And I think that that's quite a feat in itself, because when I first like got the concept, I was like, how would they make this work? And then they pulled it off. And I was like, how did you pull that off? And it was basically by not really requiring you to do manual planting or stuff. It's where you're over the garden plot. If you have seeds, they'll start planting it at regular intervals when you're there. And if you have a watering can and it's full, because you went over toward the watering can, it will start watering plants that need it. And if you go over toward where there's mining nodes, you'll start mining in those areas, etc. So you get to still do the basic Vampire Survivors thing of kind of just moving around the map and not really doing anything besides that, but having more goals throughout the farm that you're supposed to do in a smaller, more limited map. Yeah, it's very interesting game. It's a weird game, but it is very fun. If you liked Vampire Survivors or that kind of formula, the bullet heaven, it's neat. It doesn't have nearly as large a footprint for the levels as like Vampire Survivors, because that just went on for like ever. But this is a very like small, like more cozy map of the farm that you're in, and goes through seasons, goes through different difficulty levels that you can unlock different frogs that have different abilities and stuff, and upgrades. And works really great, and I was really shocked by it, and I don't know how many people played it, but I really wish more people would, and I don't want it to get lost in the shuffle, so
fair enough.
That's what I'm going with.
Alright, the all-time peak of players for Pesticide Not Required was 426, with 15 players in the playing 17 minutes ago was 17 in the 24-hour peak.
Yeah. So not a huge game. Not a huge game. They do keep updating it, though. I have seen some frequent updates where they'll add in some more frogs and stuff that you can unlock. So still supported to some degree. So should try it out if you get a chance. But yeah, so burying. What are we burying?
All right, so a game I decided to retry after it's probably been over a year, maybe 2 years at this point since I had played it. So I decided I wanted to bury New World Aeternum, as it's now known, because they renamed it. They brought it to consoles, they renamed it to New World Aeternum instead of New World. And I think I'd mentioned before that I was trying it again, and that, hey, you could technically now swim in it, which they had gotten a ton of shit for before, because, come on, why can't you fucking swim?
Yeah.
It's like, come on, make a basic swimming animation, guys. It's not hard.
Yeah.
it just felt like everything in the game got worse to do. It felt a lot jankier. The servers didn't feel as stable as, like 2 years ago. So, like, I don't know what happened or what they did. It just felt like it did not feel like I remembered playing it, like,
yeah,
at all.
Right.
I was very disappointed going back to it to find it feeling so shitty.
That's too
Like, I was like, maybe they've improved it. And I was like,
No.
oh, they've made it worse.
No. They have not made this better.
Also, they increased the price of it from its originally, like, $40 title to, I think, a $60 title.
Of course they did. Why wouldn't they?
For no reason. You can't sell me a worse product at a higher cost just because you changed its name and brought it to consoles.
I mean, that's why they did it, obviously. It's like, oh, we're rebranding, so now we can charge more for it. So, great job. Yeah. But, yeah, I guess...
So, yeah, I choose to bury that. Also, alongside that, side note, I would 100% like to bury forced crossplay.
Yes, can we do that too?
Because I don't want crossplay enabled by default. I don't want to play with people on fucking consoles.
Could we? Yeah. Can we bury different mechanics while we're at it? Let's do this too. Let's do that.
No. It's not even that it's a mechanic thing.
You want to be
feel
playing
like
on
crossplay
people that are playing
degrades
with PC too, because like
I don't care about like what they're using. It's just I feel like playing crossplay with PC and consoles degrades the server stability. 100%.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Every time I try to play crossplay, it feels like I have people from like in Space Marine you can crossplay. It's like someone loading in from a PlayStation takes like 3 times as long, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with that.
I was thinking about this, and there's probably games that I could bury that were from smaller devs, but when it comes to buries, I really love to give credit where credit is due to major studios. And
good.
I'm deciding...
Starfield, here we come.
No, I'm not doing Starfield. I played Starfield last year, and it didn't really deserve to be buried. It's just that it wasn't great. But this year, I am going to have to bury the first quadruple A video game.
Oh, jeez.
Skull and Bones.
Did you know they scrubbed that from the internet as hard as possible?
You know what? They should, because it was a terrible marketing idea. It was absolutely terrible. The thing about Skull and Bones is when it loads up and you start playing it, you're like, okay, I get it. I understand what's going on. And then they show you the title screens, and it goes through, I don't know, 15 Ubisoft studios worked on this thing that we thought was dead for the longest period of time. It comes out, it looks fine. It's not that it even plays that badly. I think the problem is that Skull and Bones doesn't really serve much purpose in the world of video games. As many people have cited, there was far more and better mechanics in Black Flag, which was came out 10-something years ago. And
right, I think it does serve a purpose in gaming, and that is to be an example of not to oversell yourself to the point where you call yourself quadruple A and then fail.
Yeah, and I think it also serves as a good cautionary tale that sometimes, if a game is in development hell, that should tell you something. If you have a game that has been continuously put off and shelved and comes back over and over again, maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe you shouldn't release that game, or you should try to come up with something different. One of the things that really confused me about Skull and Bones, and I think this would have really helped it out, is the basic mechanics of the game are all based on the ship. You don't really leave the ship, but then you get to a port and you're walking around. Problem is that when you're walking around the port, there's really not much to do except, go to the crafters and talk to people that are going to give you missions so that you can go back onto your boat. And it's kind of well, why did we even bother doing that? I played Dredge. You're on the boat entirely there, but they just get you to a port and then say, here are the people you can talk to.
Yeah.
you don't have to walk around and like see the
No,
port.
that would have taken you out of Dredge entirely if you.
Oh
had
yeah,
that.
it would be, and it's pointless. And it's like, if you're gonna do that, just make another Black Flag where there's stuff to do when you get to the port and actual gameplay. Really, really just weird choices, and I can't tell you that the game doesn't look nice. There's some great scenery there. There's some things that are cool, and I wish that there was more to it. But frankly, just like, for the sheer fact of not existing for much reason, I kind of have to bury, which I think is apt for the game, a skull and bones. And I guess if I also want to bury something, let's bury the idea of a quadruple A game from here on out, because I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm tired of selling it. Like, I don't even think it's a selling point. You could say it's a quintuple A game, and I don't see it as more valuable by saying that at all. Give me a single A game at this point, because I have a feeling I'm going to enjoy it more. So yeah, that's going to be what I'm going with. Okay.
All right.
Reboot.
So, for my reboot, I actually decided on 2 games.
Okay.
There's a reason for this.
Okay.
And I had gone back and tried to play these again recently,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of realized that, oh right, the UI and controls are kind of very dated and very ass.
Okay.
And so, the 2 games I would like to reboot
Mm-hmm.
to modern era are Star Wars: The Old Republic 1 and 2.
You know what my reboot was going to be? KOTOR. So I guess we can talk about it for similar reasons.
I also tried playing KOTOR recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess we can talk
played
about
all 3,
of
and then
it.
I also played Fallen Order.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry,
Fallen Order's
played a
very-
little bit of...
Fallen Order's a very
little
different
bit.
game. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if I want to talk about Fallen Order, it would be the fact that I like it in concept, but the fact that I don't have any armor or weapons I can actually change out with any stats or anything like that,
It's all
it
cosmetic.
does...
Yeah.
It's all cosmetic. And that makes me go, oh, it's a completely game of skill then. I can't just pump my numbers up.
It is.
So I quickly lost interest.
Side note on Fallen Order 2 is, like, I played through it, but what I had to realize was I played on story mode after trying to play it on the regular mode, and I really wish that there was something in between, because, like, the regular mode is like you're playing Dark Souls. Like, you're playing Dark Souls. And then when they go to story mode, it's like, oh my god, I am like a freaking space wizard Jedi now, and I'm just dominating everything. It's like, there could have been modes in between there. That would be great. But anyway.
I bought it for like $5.
Oh, sure.
So I'm not really going to be mad about it or anything, but I was like, okay, yeah, it's all cosmetic.
Yeah, I played it on Game Pass, so I had it anyway for my thing. But anyway.
KOTOR and The Old Republic 1 and 2. I think the games are good in the way that they are good stories and what they do is great. I think they are bad in the way that they are from the time before we really had any concept of a standardized what these games should do to feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean to say standardized as in this should be this is the bare minimum to make this game feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the thing is that, like, I've made it very clear, KOTOR especially, it's one of my favorite games of all time, and I think that, especially when it came out, revolutionary for an RPG, great storytelling, had great characters, and really did wonders with an RPG formula. It was BioWare hitting a stride. The problem is that...
I was thinking KOTOR is the one I'm talking about, Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2.
Yes, yeah.
We're talking about the same one. I also went back and did play The Old Republic, is what I meant to say.
The
before.
MMO.
The MMO.
Yes, which I tried too. Yes.
Which I played for a bit. I can get behind a bunch of it, but I can't get behind a lot of it.
Yeah, it's fine, but it could use a facelift.
I could go on about a very long talk about things I hate in free-to-play MMOs.
Oh, sure.
But I will not do that right now.
Is premium currency one of them?
No, but a symptom
Yeah.
of and a problem with
Fair
some other
enough.
things. Reasons I enjoy WoW versus playing free MMOs
Yes.
that are there.
Yeah.
But we're talking about Knights of the Old Republic.
And
I think the story's great. The characters are great. The world building, it's Star Wars. It's going to be great. I think just the systems to engage with the action and the RPG elements are from an era that is long past its prime.
Yeah, I mean, when you get to character selection screens, where you unload from the Ebon Hawk in those games, nowadays you might be able to switch them out on the fly, or you'd be able to transport and fast travel way easier, and there were a lot of places where you just couldn't do that. There's just a lot of UI and quality of life stuff that could have been vastly improved, and the dialogue trees and everything like that. I think that there's a lot, and maybe even having voiced protagonists, that would be something at a certain point. But
for me, it was a lot of that, the UI and just the way you engage with it, and then like if you had KOTOR, but it played like the Old Republic MMO in that style, I think it would be fantastic, because it would update a lot of that and make it so all your choices are right on the hotbar, kind of like Baldur's Gate with your characters too, but whatever.
Yeah.
The thing about the Old Republic MMO, I think I hated the most was it felt like I had such a lack of character customization within my build.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't get to pick my abilities or anything like that. It felt very like, these are the abilities I have, I guess.
Yeah. Even in KOTOR and KOTOR 2, KOTOR 2 did a better job of customization because you had more levels and you had more customization with even your weaponry, where you could build certain kinds of like increase. That was Obsidian. Those games are great, but they would benefit highly from modern technology. The reason why I was saying to myself, I'm going to pick it even though I'm never going to get it, is because there's been like fan remakes where they were working on like, what if we could do KOTOR now? And basically that got like scrapped. They were like, you can't do that. Under the auspices that maybe they were working on a KOTOR remake, but it also doesn't really sound like they're talking about it at any length, which makes me think that they just didn't want to have people remaking the game. I don't think I'm gonna see it. I would be surprised. I would be shocked.
Who owns the IP?
Well, it would be LucasArts, and so...
No, LucasArts doesn't own anything anymore, does
it? I believe the ones that currently have it are EA has Star Wars.
Oh, maybe, yeah. And then in that case, it wouldn't be done by them because the teams that did it are now under Microsoft, so...
It would, like, Fallen Order, those were Respawn. And it would be interesting to act... the thing about it is, it would be interesting to see Respawn do KOTOR. I think that they actually might do an interesting job with it.
It'd be interesting.
They've been pretty... It's a little outside of their wheelhouse, but, it would be interesting to see. I'd like to see BioWare be able to do it again. It might... But I think that they're off on their own doing their own thing. They got Dragon Age and Mass Effect that they're focusing on.
You know what we're getting later this year?
What are we getting?
To be on to leave this landfill with a positive note, we're getting a new game from Obsidian called Avowed.
And from everything I've seen, it is looking impressive.
It's looking like a new like Skyrim. It's looking a lot like a Skyrim version type of game.
What I didn't know is that it's in the same world as Pillars of Eternity. It's like it's essentially the third Pillars of Eternity game. It's set in the same world as those games that they made.
Is that the one that's... What's the game that just came...
That's like the top-down CRPGs that they made.
No. What's the one that just came out with the second... Path of Exile 2.
Okay.
Both of them are PoE, so...
Pillars of Eternity was more akin to, like, a Baldur's Gate.
Okay. Gotcha.
But with, like, a real-time combat. What I did not know is that apparently Avowed is in that universe, but now you're playing it's first person, and you're playing behind the thing. Very excited actually about that.
That's something to look forward to maybe this year. Hopefully it's not a flop like Skull and Bones.
Yeah, and we can only hope. I also know that Obsidian is also working on Outer Worlds 2, which I'm excited about too. And they have a pretty good track record. I do have to give them that overall. So, looking forward to that. I guess that's on the horizon. But okay, great. We handled Reboot. We both had the same reboots. So
You did. Good job, us.
Good job, us.
I did see that you had played it too.
I had. Well, because
And then I had also played it.
Yeah, because I talked about it this last year about KOTOR, where I modded it because I wanted to play it with mods to see other content. I also played KOTOR 2 for similar reasons. Because I wanted to see it with mods and the cut content and all of that. So that was interesting. Yeah, great. They're great games, but they definitely show their age. They show their age in the engine that they were working on, so it would be great to see them again. Anyway, for folks out there listening now, I'm kind of curious as to what you would want to say Barry and Reboot. You can let us know in the comments down below. What did you play this year, and was it good or bad, or just needed a new fresh coat of paint? You let us know in the comments down below.